There's a few things that will never make sense to me about the current NHL. How and why is Kyle Dubas a top paid GM in the league? The man has a higher salary than every recent Stanley Cup winning GM, aside from Julien Brisebois in Tampa. Make it make sense. How have the Oilers gone over a decade without drafting any elite depth for McDavid, outside a top pick in the draft? Actually, make it over 2 decades. The last time Edmonton drafted a star player outside the top 15, if not top 5, was in 1998 when they drafted Sean Horkoff. And when they finally do draft 2 studs in Broberg and Holloway, they would lose them to minuscule offer sheets.
Back now into the high slot, a shot, score. Well, that goes back to wide of the net, and Holloway's got his first pro hat trick.
Were they both broken out into stars this season? The Holloway offer sheet was $2.3 million. The man is a near 30-goal, 70-point player. Edmonton would be a bona fide dynasty if they had a fraction of the drafting ability compared to a Dallas or Tampa Bay Lightning. I understand that there's a lot of luck in drafting, but they have gone on a 27-year dry streak. Make it make sense. After countless high-end draft picks, if not first overall picks, for over a decade, on top of great signings, as a guy like Tage Thompson is locked up for just over $7 million in his prime.
Thompson with the giveaway. Here's a chance in front. Oh, what a goal by Tage Thompson!
Are you kidding me? How in the hell is Buffalo still a lottery team? Make it make sense. Why in the hell is Toronto a contender this year? But when I bet Canadian currency on them to finish off a 5-game parlay, they would lose against the San Jose Sharks?
Backlund celebrating!
But more crucially, how is it possible that Alex Ovechkin has been shooting from the same spot for over 20 years?
Here, back to Ovechkin, the one-timer score! Here is Ovechkin, shoots, he scores!
2 entire decades, and NHL teams still have no clue on how to stop the man. We're talking about thousands of hours of teams scouting Ovechkin, dedicated systems to prevent him from getting to his spot, and it doesn't matter. The man just scored his way into being the top goal scorer in NHL history. And well, I would discover something shocking. Today's video is sponsored by Raycon. After wearing them every single day, value for money wise, these are hands down the best earbuds I have ever owned. Not only do they have the sound quality, the build quality of some of the biggest names in premium audio, no, Raycon starts at just half the price of the other guys. And don't just take it from me, take it from the tens of thousands of 5-star reviews online. And their latest model is better than ever with features such as active noise cancellation, 32-hour battery life, and multi-point connectivity, which lets you pair to 2 devices at once. They have a super unique design and have wireless charging capabilities. I went with the Onyx Black Raycons. They have a great finish on them, and I also picked up a concrete protective case. They're the type of headphones that you put in your ears and you just forget that they're even in. And unlike some of their competitors, if I shake my head, if I'm working out, etc., these things do not budge. So whether you want to treat your mom with a headphone upgrade for Mother's Day, or pick up a pair for yourself, click my exclusive link down below, or go to buyraycon.com/RTH, where you can receive up to 20% off site-wide. So thank you so much to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. Alex Ovechkin is an anomaly, as right here is Alex Ovechkin's power play shooting heat map from the last decade. And as we can see, of course the man shoots from other places other than the left circle, but his main shooting hotspot has always been the left circle. Nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing.
Carlson closing. Ovechkin fires. Score! Niskanen rushed it for Ovechkin to fire. Score! On Carlson, he bluffs the slapper. Ovechkin one time. Score!
But this isn't a surprise though. We all know this. But it then begs the question, how in the hell have teams not figured him out? In a previous video, I would show how teams would specifically target Elias Pettersson, as they would make game plans to attack his one-timer, which single-handedly led to a significant drop-off in goal production. Think about the optics here. Throughout Ovechkin's entire career, there's only been one team that has prevented him from scoring in the playoffs. And that team was the New York Rangers. And their strategy was simple. Glue a guy to Ovechkin. This defender's entire job is to not lose track of Ovechkin, and at the very least ensure that he's not left wide open.
Strome walks in, a save by Shesterkin. The rebound was chipped by Wilson.
And it worked. Ovechkin wouldn't score a single goal in the series. Hell, the Capitals would even try to throw the Rangers off guard by parking Ovechkin net front, but it didn't matter. Not only did Ovechkin not score, but he was held shotless in this game. On this play, we can see the Rangers playing man-on-man. As soon as Washington wins the face-off, Trocheck beelines to Ovechkin to prevent a shot. Again, Washington wins the face-off, but Mika Zibanejad instantly attacks him. Here, Trocheck is once again glued to him.
And then shoots. They were looking for the deflection from Ost.
So it then begs the question, why doesn't every team do this? It only makes sense, right? Think about the optics here. Back when Ovechkin scored 65 goals, they had one of the best passers in Nicklas Backstrom, Alex Semin, who was breaking out into a 40-50 goal scorer, and Mike Green, who was hands down the best point shot in the league.
Here's Green. He shoots. He scores.
Mike Green would score 31 goals and was on pace for 38. That puts him 11th all-time in NHL history. This team would torture the NHL. If you cheated toward Ovi, we had a near 40-goal defenseman at the point and a 40-50 goal winger on the opposite side. If you cheated towards Semin or Green, Ovi was left wide open. So add in Backstrom, who can make passes like this.
Malone, Backstrom through the seam, bullseye!
And you had one of the most dominant goal-scoring teams in the modern era. However, this team would lack playmaking, as Ovechkin, Semin, and Green were all shot-first players. So yeah, this worked in the regular season where teams would play loose systems, but when you're matched up against a team like Pittsburgh, simply having a shooting gallery without the ability to consistently open up shot lanes through playmaking is just not gonna cut it. Yes, they had Backstrom, but this was clearly not enough. You'll get shut down by the best teams in the league in a 7-game series. But in 2018, something was different, as this team was able to nail down the perfect formula. Nicklas Backstrom was the primary puck distributor, Kuznetsov was an elite playmaker, but could score goals.
A shot, and it comes in over. He scores! He scores! It's Kenny Kuznetsov!
Ovechkin was coming off a Maurice Richard trophy. John Carlson had broken out into an elite puck-moving defenseman who could also rip bombs from the point.
Down Eakin, across now for a drive. Score!
So all they were missing is a tipper and in-close finisher. And well, they had TJ Oshie.
Head fake to the backhand. He scores! A magnificent one-handed effort.
A player with some of the best hands in hockey history. This was the perfect formula for spacing. In round 1, I don't know what Columbus's coach was thinking, but they had the right idea to be aggressive off the draw, but not to Ovechkin.
Here for the Caps, Ovechkin lets it go! He scores!
Matt Calvert would beeline to the point and leaves Ovechkin wide open. Yes, there's the defenseman in the lane, but Ovechkin with time and space will shoot right through defenders. On this next play, we would see Columbus try to clog up the slot with sticks, but Backstrom makes a disgusting saucer pass straight to a wide open Ovechkin.
The half board for the seam, score!
For some perspective, look at the difference in pressure between Trocheck and the Blue Jackets. Trocheck was able to glue himself to Ovi, but because this new Capitals team had so many dual threats, cheating every play just wasn't an option, as it was clear that Columbus had no ability to stop Ovi. In round 2, they would match up against the Penguins. And here's what's fascinating. The Penguins would hold Ovechkin goalless on the power play throughout the entire series. However, Washington's elite defense would lead to many odd man rushes.
On comes Ovechkin.
And if you're playing a penalty kill system to cheat towards Ovechkin, you better hope his teammates aren't scoring. But they were.
Takes a look over toward Ovechkin. Got one to score.
As Washington's game plan and or execution was fascinating. They were truly playing mind games. On this play, Carlson picks up the puck at the point, which forces Hagelin to start panicking either to cheat towards Ovechkin or try to get in Carlson's shot lane, where Ovechkin is left wide open. Yet, Carlson still decides to shoot.
Carlson waits. Fire, score!
When you have puck moving and 4 players who are willing to be selfish and shoot, you are now torturing the opposing defense. You don't know who to cover, who to cheat towards, who's gonna shoot the puck. This power play was unpredictable, as Ovechkin not scoring on the power play this series but his teammates covering up would lift him past the Penguins for the first time in the Ovi era. In round 3, they had to match up against Tampa. Yes, they were running similar systems to the Penguins series, but Ovechkin was on a different level.
Efficiency, drive, score!
As he was still finding a spot and shooting right through the defense even if they were in the perfect position. I love this play from Ovechkin. Sitting on the point with the empty net, he stands there like his controller disconnects. So much so, the defense doesn't pressure him. He takes one stride.
Carlson gives to Ovechkin. He scores!
Where finally, Ovechkin would dominate Vegas for every reason we just went over. And this is what's so fascinating about the current Washington Capitals, as I would see predictions that they were gonna be a lottery team. There was no chance in hell that Ovechkin reaches the record this season. But no, we instead would see genius roster construction from the Capitals management. The exact opposite strategy to that of Kyle Dubas and the Penguins. Think about the optics here. The Capitals and Penguins were on near identical timelines. Penguins won in 2017, Capitals in 2018. However, Kyle Dubas and the Penguins would begin making Hail Mary trades and deplete their cap space with the shiniest object to look at, which would eventually blow up and lead them to trading their second best player in Jake Gensel for a minuscule return. Whereas, Washington instead found pieces like Dubois, Chychrun, Dylan Strome, Rasmus Sandin, many teams viewed as damaged goods. Washington, however, viewed them as players who weren't put in the proper positions. Dylan Strome is an elite playmaker, but the last time this man had an elite goal scorer was when he played with DeBrincat or McDavid in the OHL. Him and Ovechkin were a match made in heaven. Jacob Chychrun was being pushed out by Chabot and Jake Sanderson, which would hinder his two-way potential, so as a number one option, he would explode in development. Sandin doesn't have the size and wasn't trustworthy enough for the Leafs. Dubois was a disappointing star who desperately needed a change-up, as the OV era has always been about making a team for Ovechkin. And this roster construction led him to surpassing Wayne Gretzky as the greatest goal scorer of all time. I'd really appreciate a like on this video, a big shout out to Raycon for sponsoring today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.